Hello!
Hello, AOS fans!
It's the agents of Wyrdhollow.
And in this video, we're looking at the newly announced Warband, the Headsman's Curse.
The Headsman's Curse, due out this summer.
In the summer, yeah, I'm not a fan of the name, Headsman's Curse. It's a bit hard to say.
It's a bit wordy,
Headsman's.
Yeah. The Headsman's.
Yeah, I don't like it. Anyway, that's by the by.
That's beside. I'm also not a fan of the fact that they announced them on Saturday when Wyrdhollow only just came out for pre-order. It's kind of like we had a lot of people. I mean, we have the box, but a lot of people haven't even got the box in their hand.
Yeah.
GW are already going, look at what's coming next.
Yeah, it was a bit. I suppose Warhammer Fest is when Warhammer Fest is, and then they just have that release kind of doom wheel, don't they? And nothing can stand in its path.
Nothing
crushed beneath
stops it.
The Games Workshop marketing bandwagon.
Yeah,
but that is kind of what it felt like, and I don't really like feeling like I'm just literally just a sort of mill in which to put money into.
Buy this thing next.
Spit out into the GW dividends.
Yeah, buy this. I know some of you're waiting. Buy this next one.
Some of our followers will be happy to have stuff spit out into their dividends, but I just feel a bit. I don't know.
It's just
It's almost like they're a business that wants to make money or something.
Disgusting, disgraceful. Where do they get off? One thing I don't really like is the fact there's 4 ghosts. I mean, Wraith Creepers, Mournflight. We've kind of done.
Ghosts. They come in 4s.
A bit like the monkeys. Here we come. Floating down the street,
scaring the bejesus
of everyone we meet. Hey, we're the Headsmen, and here is the Headsman's Curse.
You're gonna be going out of here in a great big black hearse. One thing I was really interested in was the fact that it's really quite thematic. I don't think the other warbands have ever been this thematic.
No.
So they're basically, and it does say they have a plot card that centres around it. They're basically a group of executioners.
Well, a executioner
holding
the Terminus blade, which is made by Nagash himself.
But they've got a guy who's writing down the names of the condemned.
Yeah.
And there's a guy who's carrying the block.
Yeah. And another one with the whetstone to sharpen the blade.
And they kind of have to do those things as part of their actions, which we'll come on to.
Yeah.
But I really like that, and I wonder whether we'll see more of that. It'd be quite interesting.
It has the potential, and it worries me possibly that we might get a sort of a bit of a Moloch situation where it's all about the big guy.
Right.
But it feels like he's at least not quite as powerful without the backup of some of the others. No. So I do like the fact that they have to feed into him. It maybe telegraphs what you're going to be doing a bit.
Well, it feels like if you can take him out, then
the Warband's possibly in a lot more trouble. Yeah,
and there's a guy who can give him +1 damage as well, so he's probably going to be first for the chop.
Exactly.
See what I did there.
So yeah, it's interesting to see this theme that they've got going on, and like you say, there is going to be a plot card in with the Warbands. There's another Warband with a plot card, which is going to help you gain those condemned tokens.
Condemned tokens. I'm a bit fed up with the sheer number of tokens we have to remember.
Many tokens.
I have to say. But yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. It's not entirely clear what condemned tokens do or how you get them at the moment.
No. Well, there is one way to get condemned tokens, and we will cover that on the fighter that gives them out. So the first fighter is the Scripture of the Sentence.
I do like the model with the big...
Yeah, paper. It's a big piece of paper.
That's pointing really hard to paint. Look good, make it look good.
Get some transfers for that one.
Right.
So he's a chain rasp, harkening back to the Thorns of the Briar Queen days, and he can fly as a result of that one. So some immunity to lethal hexes whilst running around. Yeah,
fairly standard chain raspy stat line.
Yep.
Not too overpowered. Moves 4, which I think I probably expect. 1 dodge. 3 wounds, which is more than the chain rasps, I think, in the Briar Queen. But
there's more of them.
There's more of them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fair enough. He's got a ranged attack,
which isn't too bad. It's range 3, 2 hammers and 1 damage.
I'd rather have 3 swords one damage, I think, but 2 hammers. 2 hammers is there and there. It has the condemned condition.
Yeah, this is a reaction that after an activation step in which this fighter made this attack action, so it doesn't have to be a successful attack action, they just have to make it, you give the target 1 condemned counter.
Which I guess is that's to signify him writing his name on the
He's marked
on the piece of paper.
Been condemned. It's
kind of interesting because we know there's a plot card that's going to centre around these condemned token counters. It doesn't really say what they do.
No.
But this gives the target 1, but you can't inspire until you have 3.
Yes.
So this doesn't give you 1.
No, it puts it on them. So I'm assuming there's going to be something where when you kill people, you get the condemned counters or something like that.
I feel like there's going to have to be more to it than that. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really hard because that's an action I suppose it's half. Yeah, he's got to make an attack action.
Yes.
And if you've got to get 3,
does he have to make 3 attacks?
Exactly.
I'm assuming there's going to be power cards and things that are going to give you more condemned counters and
There's
stuff.
going to have to be more ways.
Yeah. Or there might be the plot card may have something where you can give somebody a condemned counter at the beginning of each round or something like that as well.
Pointing your finger at it.
Yeah.
Yes. So we don't really know, but we're interesting to see.
Next up is the Bearer of the Block.
Yeah, you don't want to get too much into the physics of these things because I'm not sure how he drags that around if he's got no corporeal substance. But we
also there's a candle sort of putting on it, but it's at an angle. So if you actually put the block down, the candle will be sideways.
So we're not really sure about that. No. But he's got a very similar stat line. He's got 1 more wound,
and he wields the Beheader's Block, which is a range 1, 2 hammer, 2 damage. He's a bit snarky, not quite as good, but 2 hammers, 2 damage is not to be sniffed at really.
No, not really. No, he has got a special rule for range 1 and 2 attack actions made by a fighter who the Bearer of the Block supports. Then they have cleave.
It's not too bad.
No, that's quite nice. Also, enemy fighters adjacent to him can't be put on guard, which is a bit more objective shenanigans going around now. You just sidle up to him and suddenly you can be pushed. And again, they all inspire in the same way. They need these 3 condemned counters.
So next is the Sharpener of the Blade.
Sharpener of the Blade, and I feel like this guy has a target on his head.
Yeah.
He has got 2 dodge, but he's only 2 damage.
Yes.
I mean, as we stated before, if you can get him on guard with 2 dodge, he's quite hard to shift.
Yep.
He's got a rubbish attack.
Absolutely terrible.
2 swords, 1 damage. Only range 1, so I mean that is.
And it's a sharpened blade, and it's doing 1 damage. I mean, his sharpening is rubbish.
He doesn't know which end to use. But he has got a little some abilities that go with Whet the Blade. Give this fighter or a friendly adjacent wielder of the blade 1 wetted counter, +1 damage to that fighter's next successful range 1 attack action for each of that fighter's wetted counters, and then remove the fighter's wetted counters. How many times can you have wetted in one sentence?
And it's interesting to note there that you don't lose the counters until you make a successful attack.
Yeah.
So you could pile a bunch on, charge and whiff. He could get killed, but your main guy's still got those. His sword, I mean, it makes sense. If you miss your target, then your sword stays sharp.
It's a tough one because it's an action. I don't know about you, Pete. When playing, I find it very hard to just make actions that do nothing.
It always feels like your ABC should be applied. Always be charging.
Exactly. Well, exactly. Yes. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it does make the wielder of the blade quite strong if you can get one on him. He just feels very weak. He feels like as soon as you put him near the wielder of the blade, then somebody's going to be sacrificed to go and kill him.
It does feel like that. With only 2 wounds, he's the most vulnerable of the lot.
Yeah.
And considering what he can do, he's definitely, like you say, going to have the target on his back.
Maybe there'll be some push shenanigans, so you can push without moving up to. Because I mean, that's the other thing. You have to, because it's an action. You have to be next to the Bearer of the Blade with an action. You can't charge.
You're going to want to set them up next to each other at the start of the game. So you are going to want to board with multiple.
There's multiple. I forgot that. Yeah. There are some boards with 2 hexagons.
Yeah. So you're going to be looking for that one.
For him. Yeah, definitely.
He's another chain rasp as well. He can fly, but all 3 of those fighters generally look like they're building up towards supporting the big guy.
Absolutely. How many of them are minions? He's a minion, I know. So neither of the other 2 are minions.
No, which is quite interesting. I guess because he's got less wounds, maybe that might come in useful in some ways. But minion does feel like it's mostly useless unless you've got like the Beastbound Assault deck, which is reliant on minions.
So
no, not really. No. And then we come on to the man of the hour, the main man himself,
the leader,
the wielder of the blade.
The wielder of the blade. His stat profile is pretty good.
Yep.
As you probably expect, as he's the leader. It's 4 move, 2 dodge, and 5 wounds.
Well, that's pretty tough.
It is pretty tough.
Considering you've got a 2 or 3 and a 4 wound fighter, and then you've got a 5 wound fighter. So I think it's the first Warband where we've got 1 of every wound, which is quite funky.
And we did notice that we'll come on to the card in a minute, but they have got a +1 wound card that isn't restricted to large fighters. So you can get him to 6.
Yeah, which is just disgraceful, really. His weapon, Terminus, forged by Nagash himself, it's not bad off the block. 1 range, 2 hammers, and 3 damage.
Well, that's quite a nice attack. I mean, that's Stormcast level.
That is,
attacking. That's Brodus Brightblade.
Brodus Brightblade.
Exactly.
And it has the blade bound ability attached to it as well, which is a reaction. And it says that after this attack action takes the target out of action, place a friendly fighter that is out of action in a hex adjacent to this fighter and give that fighter 1 raise counter and 1 wound counter. So they don't come back vulnerable, which is nice to have. I mean, one of the fighters will because he only has 2 wounds, but you kill someone and you get one of your guys back. It just feels a bit like a bit of a 2 fingers to the poor old sepulchral guard.
Definitely. I mean, it's only range 1, so you've got to be up close and personal if you're going to be doing this beheading, which is kind of fair enough, really.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining a situation where you can sort of, so turn 1, you use the action of the person who sharpens the blade, gets him up to 2 hammers, 4 damage.
Yeah.
You know, it just
starts to get dirty.
Yeah,
starts
charges
to get very
in,
nasty.
kills Stormsire.
Yeah, it's just horrific. Or maybe you don't even charge him the first turn. You just spend a couple of actions boosting him up. And then if you do lose some fighters, when he charges in and chops someone's head off, one of you guys are going to pop back up straight away without any problems, which is double dirty.
Yeah, the guy who does the sharpening, even if you go after him, he can come back.
Exactly. Yeah,
and then start sharpening their sword. Starting it?
No, it's right next to him.
Right next to him. So he's literally. If you might actually, in some ways, not want to kill the person who sharpens him, because if you do kill him, then you can, if they're separated, you probably don't want to kill him.
No, go for somebody else instead, so that your opponent can't just go, I have just appeared right next to him again, thank you very much. He again inspires in the same way. He needs 3 or more condemned counters. But when he inspires, he gets a little bit better, but not fantastically so. But I think that's okay, considering he was already pretty nasty.
Yeah, I mean, he almost makes the sharpening guy sort of pointless.
Yes, almost. He goes to 5 move, which on its own is really nice, considering he's 5 wounds and he keeps the 2 dodge. His sword doesn't change too much, but it does go to 4 damage, which means if he's got a couple of wetted counters on him, a couple of them, and then you could be one-shotting any old ogre.
It's just a troll left.
Yeah, and even he's going to be looking a little bit worried after the first attack hits.
So they do feel very strong.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the cards that they spoiled.
So we saw 2 objectives, which both of them centre around killing people, which I think we could expect in this situation, given the warband.
I like the picture on Basket of Bonces, but I don't really like the name. It's a bit, I don't know.
Bonces seems like a bit of a silly word, given the gravitas of the situation.
If they were goblins, it might be all right. But
and they're a bunch
of contempt. I've cut off your bonds.
Yeah, and considering it's 3 corpses, severed heads in a bucket, Basket of Bonces sounds a little bit jovial. But for Basket of Bonces, you score that in an end phase. If 2 or more enemy fighters are out of action, that should be pretty easy to score most of the time around.
I think you're carrying that. I mean, if you draw at turn 1, you might be a bit upset, but other than that,
you're
going to score that.
And then you've also got the Triumph of Death, which is an end-phase dual score card.
In that picture, it looks a bit like he's got a cricket bat.
It does, yeah. The cricket bat of destruction. And on this one, you get, if you have 1 or fewer surviving enemies, and there are at least 2 of your fighters surviving, which should be fairly doable considering what your boss can do, rezzing people and how survivable he is. Yes. And that's very similar to the Velmorn card. I believe they have exactly the same thing.
Slightly easier for them to score, I guess, or for these guys to score, because Velmorn can't raise.
Yes. Well, they have 1 card to raise someone, I think, and that's it, but he has no innate ability, which these guys do. We then also got to see 3 upgrade cards, one of which we already mentioned, the Enduring Executioner, which gives somebody +1 wounds, which is disgusting, because it can put him up to 6 wounds.
6 wounds, and that is kind of like pretty much 2-shot territory. It's very hard to one-shot a 6-wound fighter.
Very, very hard, unless you happen to be an executioner with a doubly wetted blade.
Oh, interesting, so interesting mirror match. Swift Judgment. +1 move.
Always nice, but it makes them even faster.
Yeah, and it's got a reaction on it, so you use it after you made a move action. If you move through any enemy fighters, you can choose one of the enemy fighters and give them a condemned token. So that's another way of giving out a condemned token.
And then you break this card, so it's just a free condemned counter.
It's another way of giving one out. We still haven't seen any way to sort of harvest them back in.
No, I'm assuming it's going to be kill someone, get the condemned counters off them.
I just feel like that's actually quite tricky.
Well, it depends, because, I mean, you could, if you use the other guy's attack, you put 1 on them, you use this, run over them, and then put another 1 on them.
It's not speedy, though.
It's not as speedy,
no. It's not speedy.
And then the last one is Chilling Grasp, which I think is actually quite a naff card here, which is enemy fighters adjacent to this fight cannot make move actions. That feels like the first upgrade you're not going to pick when
it's
building.
Restricted to the chain rasp.
That definitely feels like something you're not going to pick the minute you're into Nemesis or Championship territory.
I feel like you're right there,
Yeah, because why would I move away if I'm next to you? I'm going to just hit you in the face, or I'm going to charge to get somewhere else. Very rarely do you just move away and not do anything else with it. So that one feels like the least good of the upgrades that we've seen.
And you've got a ploy, you must serve.
You must serve.
And
you must serve.
Totally see John Inman impersonations going on in our battle reports, but you can place a friendly chain rasp, but it's out of action on a starting hex in your territory. So we've seen this type of card before for the various warbands that can bring people back, but it's got a slight twist on it. They get a raise counter. But if there are 4 surviving friendly fighters, you have to give them wound counters until they're vulnerable. So it's less good when...
Right at the start.
When you only bring back one fighter. When you've only got one person dead, so you're recompleting yourself, so to speak.
Yeah, no, it only allows you to bring back Chain Ross, so you can't bring back the big boss man, because that would be absolutely broken. But, I mean, apart from the sharpening guy, any of the other 2 are worth bringing back. So I think it's always worth holding if you've got that early and you've just got like the sharpening dude out of action. I wouldn't bring him back. I'd wait until someone else is dead first. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you can imagine if you did bring them back and then somebody's playing, is it Tooth and Claw deck that has the one for scoring if somebody's vulnerable? Oh yeah. Bing, thank you very much. So that is the Headsman's Curse. Yeah, interesting one, but like I say, I really like the theme of them, and I'm really interested to see what their plot card is. But let us know what you think. I feel like this could be a way of them moving towards that kind of... I mean, a lot of the warbands now have good themes going on with them that centre around certain points. I wonder if they can do more of these things where warbands are going to be racing towards achieving a warband-wide objective as well as their secondary objectives, which gives a little bit more depth and a little bit more of a challenge without making it too head messing. Yeah, because you can sort of see there might be on the plot card, there might be ways of general, or maybe not on the plot card, but on their objectives of like a certain number of harvesting the condemned tokens. Yeah, exactly. They get stuff for doing that and completing the set. Yeah. The Blackadder one where they do them on the wrong day. Yeah. And the condemned tokens themselves may be, depending on the plot cards that they have out there, may be relatively easy to gather. I mean, at the minute we don't know too much about it, so it could be one of those things where if you take a lot of the cards to help you get those tokens, you won't necessarily be as powerful, but you might inspire much quicker. And we haven't seen the other inspired fighters cards, but the Headsman, the main guy's card, is already quite nice. So I suspect the rest won't do too badly either. I wasn't listening to any of that because I was imagining a reworked warband where you have Blackadder, Percy, Baldric, and Proppy the Jailer. Wouldn't you have Queenie as well? Well, just sitting at the back. Possibly, yeah. Movement 0, 5 dodge. But this warband, you should say, like you could substitute them. Yeah. So that's the warband. Yeah. I like the mechanics they're going with here overall. I'm not a massive fan of the fact that it's another 4 ghost warband. No, it's a bit of a shame. But otherwise, apart from the fact I think they've announced it a little bit too early. Yes. On top of the releases. But I guess Warhammer Fest was when it was. Some warbands, they just come along and you don't really... Some of them just never really grab hold of you. No, but sometimes when they arrive, they feel much better. So I feel like this might be one of those for me. Yeah. I'm not that excited about it at the moment. I'm much more excited about my magic that I've got going on, because there's no spellcasters here. No spellcasters. That's a good point. Yeah, well, we'll wait and see. I'm sure when they come, they'll make a splash, or at very least a woo. So don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell, and if you're interested, maybe check out Patreon if you'd like to see us and support us more. You get to come and discuss on our Discord all what we're excited about with the new warbands and all that kind of stuff, so it's good fun over there. Yeah, let us know in the comments below what other things you'd like to see us covering, discussing on the channel, and what other videos we could be putting out to entertain and amaze you all. So we'll see you soon in the Wyrdhollow. Bye!